Transitional shelters are designed to provide temporary housing and support services for individuals and families who are experiencing homelessness with the goal of helping them transition into permanent housing. Unlike emergency shelters that focus on immediate and short term relief, transitional shelters offer a more extended stay, typically ranging from several months up to 2 years. These shelters often cater to specific populations, such as women and children fleeing domestic violence, individuals recovering from addiction, families working to regain financial stability. A key feature of transitional shelters is the integration of support services aimed at addressing the underlying causes of homelessness, including case management, job training, education support, mental health counseling, addiction treatment, and child care. Transitional shelters are often funded through a combination of federal, state, and local government programs, as well as private donations and grants. Programs like HUD's Continuum of Care and Transitional Housing Assistance Grants support the development and operation of these facilities. The term transitional shelter emerged in the mid 20th century as part of a broader efforts to address homelessness and housing instability in the United States and globally. Initially, it was used to describe temporary housing solutions provided after major crises such as wars or natural disasters, where displaced populations needed stable environments before transitioning to permanent homes. Unlike extended stay refugee camps, which are often established to address long term displacement due to ongoing conflict or lack of resettlement options, transitional shelters are designed with a defined timeline and the goal of facilitating a quicker integration into permanent housing. In the 1980s, as homelessness rose in the United States due to economic recession, cuts to social services, and Reagan's deinstitutionalization of mental health care, transitional shelters became a prominent component of federal housing strategies. The passage of the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act in 1987 formalized the concept of funding programs that combine temporary housing with supportive services to help individuals and families rebuild their lives. Since then, the term has evolved to encompass a wide range of programs aimed at addressing diverse causes of homelessness, such as domestic violence, recovery, addiction, and economic stability. Today, transitional shelters are recognized as a critical step in the continuum of care for those experiencing homelessness, bridging the gap between emergency shelters and permanent housing solutions. For decades, the solution to housing the homeless was placing qualified individuals into 2 year transitional housing facilities with programs to help them become stable residents. The approach was proven to be ineffective for a number of reasons. Agencies placed qualifications on entry to serve the least vulnerable individuals. This kept the most vulnerable individuals with mental health and substance abuse issues on the streets and in the woods. 2 year transitional housing programs provided case management that is agency based rather than client directed. Agencies were more interested in keeping beds filled to receive funding than in helping people transition out of their services. Transitional housing does not change an individual's status as homeless, but provides shelter for the less vulnerable. When the 2 years expired, the homeless individuals remained in the facility, beds equal funds, or returned to the streets or woods. Nowadays, transitional shelters are supportive housing programs designed to serve as an immediate step between the emergency shelter and then to permanent housing. They typically offer structure, supervision, support, and life skills training to help individuals or families transition to stable living situations. Programs may vary in eligibility, requirements, and services provided, with some focusing on specific populations such as men recovering from substance abuse. Organizations like the Coalition of the Homeless and Department of Human Services provide various transitional housing assistance programs to help those experiencing homelessness. Eligibility requirements and programming vary by program, but most programs offer structure, supervision, support, and life skills. Individuals may only be connected to transitional housing through the coordinated assessment and housing placement. In Brevard County, we call that the Coordinated Housing Assessment Team. Some of the different transitional housing options available are domestic violence shelters and domestic violence homes. These individuals may not have the resources or self-esteem to move into their own place right away. Victim advocacy and domestic violence provide support that they couldn't get otherwise, including security, legal, medical, counseling, and of course protection from the abuser. Youth shelters for runaway and abused children is another needed transitional facility for children who need a safe place to go. Children and youth shelters provide case management services, health care, and access to education that these children would unlikely have on the streets or in the woods or in somebody else's home. Hospital transitional facilities are helpful for patients in recovery who cannot remain in the hospital but are not healthy enough to return to the streets or the woods. These programs provide shelter, security, and most importantly, well checks. Reentry transitional facilities provide shelter and programs for people reentering the community from prisons or jails. These programs connect individuals to employment, healthcare, and other community resources to help keep them from returning to incarceration. And thank you.